Thank you, and good morning. Let me begin with a special word of appreciation to Ms. Lucas and, of course, to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association for once again hosting the inaugural event to, as you heard, kick off yet another United States Army birthday observance. This is our fourth year here on this inspiring Riverside estate, and I am so grateful that Mount Vernon has become such an integral part of the Army birthday tradition. I'm even more thrilled, really proud might be a better word, that by being here, our Army's first commanding general remains center stage as we honor the institution that he and his fellow patriots so painstakingly brought to life. Our Army history, like that of the entire nation, really is deeply intertwined with the personal history of George Washington. So it is more than fitting that we are here, and as Lucas noted, we cannot think of a better place to kick off Army Birthday Week than here on the storied grounds of Washington's beloved Mount Vernon. Sergeant Major Daly, sir, thank you for being here. Your leadership and devotion to our soldiers, your commitment to our Army are unmatched, and we're so grateful for your service. Joined by your wife, Polly. Good to see you. So in May of 1775, a political scientist of the day, James McGregor Burns, noted, "America's Continental Congress declared the situation in our country as dangerous and critical, and that all colonies should be immediately set into a state of defense." And in a fateful, indeed a historic next step, Congress then decided that the soldiers who were then volunteering in Boston would form a new Continental Army to which 6 companies of riflemen would be added. It then, much to the delight of soldiers both then and now, authorized salaries for those soldiers. Then, in a particular stroke of political and strategic genius, John Adams quickly nominated a resplendent Virginia planter to lead that army. A fellow New Englander of Adams wrote in support of the nomination, "George Washington seems discreet and virtuous, no harum-scarum, ranting, swearing fellow, but sober, steady, and calm." And when Washington's unanimous selection as commander-in-chief was later announced, Adams then simply said, "The liberties of America now depend upon him." Just a little bit of pressure there. Washington, not unlike many of today's soldiers, accepted his assignment out of a profound sense of duty, and for 8 years, he led the main elements of the Continental Army in combat. Like his soldiers, Washington served and he sacrificed. And his extraordinary foresight, personal integrity, and self-discipline ultimately helped provide the necessary leadership to shape and cement the culture of the nation's Army, and ultimately to win a revolution. Benjamin Franklin would write to an English friend of his in 1784 that, quote, "An American planter was chosen by us to command our troops and continued during the whole war. This man sent home to you, one after another, 5 of your best generals baffled, their heads bare of laurels, disgraced even in the opinion of their employers." Franklin's American planter, a good and great man, had become a remarkable military leader. And his army, the army he built, soon became the envy of the world. Some things never change. For more than 240 years, America has counted on her army and its volunteer soldiers to sustain our liberties and protect our interests both here and abroad. And the men and women of the United States Army, like Washington before, can always be counted on to deliver and to serve with honor and integrity. from the American Revolution so long ago to the more recent fields of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan, brave individuals have stepped forward to defend our nation and our freedom with unmatched competence and character. And nothing is more indicative of that selfless commitment and the willingness of those soldiers to shed their own blood if it be necessary, and the willingness as well of their families to share their treasure on behalf of the nation. So, as you heard a bit about, another reason we're so pleased to begin the commemoration of our birthday week here at Mount Vernon is it marks the beginning of the Purple Heart Trail, a series of roadways and trails throughout all 50 states that pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces who have been awarded the Purple Heart. And again, as Ms. Lucas so accurately recounted, it was originally conceived by Washington. And I think it's important that we dwell on just for a moment the significance of that award. Never in the history of Europe, never in the history of armies had enlisted soldiers, those below officers, been so recognized. Because as the commander-in-chief, through those long years of war, Washington learned one thing: the Army is soldiers, and only soldiers can win a conflict. Only soldiers can win a revolution. Only soldiers can preserve freedom and liberty. And just like today, Washington's enlisted soldiers routinely did all that was asked of them, and more that was reasonably expected. Public recognition of their service and sacrifice was more than justified, Washington believed. We're here today honored to have the opportunity to reflect upon the very first bestowing of what later became the Purple Heart by General George Washington himself, when he presented his medal to 3 enlisted soldiers. This morning, we too are honored to have the opportunity to present the Purple Heart to 3 enlisted soldiers: Specialist Spencer Jacobson, Specialist Marcelino Biz, and Specialist Clay Castile. All 3 of these men are members of the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I had a chance in one of my regular visits to Walter Reed visit these 3 great Americans. And they are, as soldiers have always been, incredible examples of bravery, of selfless sacrifice. And I'm particularly pleased that some of their families can also be with us here today. Anyone remotely associated with the Army knows all too well that the love, the support, and the encouragement of our families is absolutely essential to accomplishing the mission. So thank you for all the uncommon lives of consequence that you and your loved ones in uniform have chosen. It's a special honor to be able to include you in today's ceremony, and Specialist Castile's guests are his wife Raven and their children, Alice and Kyler. Specialist Biz is joined by his sister, Janice. Can we have, please, a round of applause for these great men? I know, because I had a chance to shake their hand before the ceremonies began, that some of our soldiers also brought members of their Warrior Transition Battalion with them today. These soldiers do amazing work in support of heroes like we're going to honor here in a few moments. They encounter soldiers at times of transition, at times of great personal and physical challenge. And through their sacrifices, through their dedication to their fellow soldiers, to their uncommon understanding of the word teamwork, they help our soldiers get on to their lives. So again, can we give a round of applause, please, to the WT soldiers who are doing this? As we close out the speaking parts of this ceremony and get to the most important part, the award ceremony itself, I'd like to close with the words of General Washington himself. Just after assuming command of the Continental Army, Washington wrote a fellow officer and said in that letter a message that epitomizes the selfless service of those who don the country's cloth. Sacrifice for one's country, Washington wrote, will bestow upon a man more real honor than the most distinguished victory. From now on, Washington promised, he would devote himself solely to what he called, quote, American union and patriotism. All smaller and partial considerations, he said, would give way to the great and general interest. For 240 years, Washington's spirit of sacrifice and selfless service has been the foundation of our all-volunteer force, the very bedrock of the Army profession. And through the demonstration of incredible competence, enduring commitment, and extraordinary character in defense of the nation, America's soldiers have proven themselves worthy of the trust and confidence of the American people. So today, as Secretary, to the total force, active, Guard, Reserve, civilian, and families, I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do, keeping this nation great. And above all, happy birthday, U.S. Army. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary McHugh and Sergeant Major of the Army Daily will present the Purple Heart to 3 wounded warriors. Please remain seated during the presentations. Specialist Jacobson, please join Secretary McHugh and Sergeant Major Daly. The President of the United States of America has awarded the Purple Heart established by General George Washington at Newburgh, New York, August 7th, 1782, to Specialist Spencer Jacobson for wounds received in action on April 8th, 2015 in Afghanistan. Signed, John M. McHugh, Secretary of the Army. Specialist Biz, please join Secretary McHugh and Sergeant Major Daly. The President of the United States of America has awarded the Purple Heart established by General George Washington at Newburgh, New York, August 7th, 1782, to Specialist Marcelino Biz for wounds received on action on April 8th, 2015 in Afghanistan. Signed, John M. McHugh, Secretary of the Army. Specialist Castile, please join Secretary McHugh and Sergeant Major Daly. The President of the United States of America has awarded the Purple Heart established by General George Washington at Newburgh, New York, August 7th, 1782, to Specialist Clay Castile for wounds received in action on April 8th, 2015 in Afghanistan. Signed, John M. McHugh, Secretary of the Army. Thank you, Secretary McHugh and Sergeant Major Daly. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Army Song.
March along, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along.